What's up, you guys? We're back with some more college football on Beat the Odds from OddsChecker. I'm Katelyn Heffler along with Alex and Jason here with some latest picks. But before we get started, to celebrate the 102nd season of the NFL, OddsChecker is doing a giveaway for $10,200. You must be following our Instagram and Twitter at OddsCheckerUS to get in on this action. We're going to start off with some picks from Jason and Alex, and then we're going to end this video for this week with our pick of the week. Alex, get us started.
Thanks, Katelyn. Very excited to be back with you both. I'm going to start on Thursday night in week one. One of my favorite things about week one of the college football season is how it's sort of 4 to 5 day long celebration of the sport, bookended around Labor Day weekend. On Thursday night in Charlotte, a neutral site game, Appalachian State and East Carolina. I'm on App State. I'm with the Nears in this game, -10.5. I see a pretty huge quality gap between these two teams. These are both teams that have pretty considerable histories as really good programs, kind of below the Power 5 level and even below the FBS level in App State's case. In North Carolina, they've spent a couple of years going in really opposite directions. ECU has lost a lot of shine. I think this is a big year for Mike Houston and that staff, but I'm not sure that they're starting it off in the most advantageous way. App is known for making life very, very difficult on G5 teams that don't have the meat up front, don't have the beef that App State has on the offensive defensive lines. I think Chase Bryce, the quarterback transfer for App State, who was previously at Clemson and then Duke, is going to be good in this environment. And I think that Holton Ahlers, the quarterback at ECU, has had significant accuracy problems. So I like App State -10.5. I think that should be more of like a 14, even 15 point type line. And I'm not sure why it's around 10 or 11. Also on Thursday night, Boise State and UCF are playing in what I think is going to be one of the premier group of 5 games of the year. It involves the two best G5 programs of the last 5 to 10 years. I don't know, Jason, that seems fair to say. Two pretty damn good ones there in UCF and Boise. I think this game's going under 68.5. Two things for me. I think this total is informed by UCF's numbers the last few years when their head coach was Josh Heupel, who has now gone to Tennessee. He's been replaced, of course, by old friend Gus Malzahn, who took like a $40 trillion buyout from Auburn in exchange for getting fired at the end of last season, or $21 million, something like that, give or take. I think that the difference here in styles is really important. Josh Heupel had the fastest pace offense in the country. UCF like to run to the line, snap the ball really, really quickly. As we know, that's conducive to a lot of points. And I think that the statistical models that inform projections for a game like this are probably still based off UCF having that much faster play style, even though Gus Malzahn takes things a lot more slowly, runs the ball a lot, is known certainly for doing some hurry up, no huddle, but also taking his time a bit more and being more deliberate than Josh Heupel. Also, you have 2 new coaching staffs, not just UCF's, but Boise State's, with Andy Avalos taking over for Brian Harsin. And I think that you can get a lot of sloppiness anytime you have 2 new staffs going head-to-head in week one. On Saturday, Bowling Green playing Tennessee on Rocky Top. I have Tennessee. I got them at -34 in this game. I would take them anywhere around that ballpark, even if it gets to the wrong side of -35. I just talked about Josh Heupel, who is now at Tennessee. This guy likes to move. He likes to snap the ball quickly. Tennessee is going to play with a lot of pace. I think that this will be one of the most rapidly moving offenses in the country this year. And folks, I said it last week on our show. Do you remember, Jason and Katelyn, what I said about UConn last week, about how bad they were going to be?
You were quite accurate in your prediction that they're very bad at football.
But we all know that Bowling Green is bad. We know that UConn is bad. I am insisting to you that Bowling Green in the UConn vein is worse than odds makers are capturing. I watched them a few times last year, and they are truly sickeningly bad. I feel very bad for their players and also their fans, and really everyone except their head coach, Scott Loeffler. There have been some Tennessee fans who have kind of some gallows humor that they might lose this game. No, you will not. You'll be just fine. Also, Tennessee has had a 3-guy quarterback competition this spring. I think if they go deep into the bench because they're winning by a lot, I think they'll keep throwing the ball so that they can see what they've got in several different quarterbacks on that roster. So I feel good there. And then for now, I'll close before I come back to my pick of the week. Marshall and Navy playing in Annapolis. I have Marshall -3 in this game. Jason, I know you are always loath to bet against the troops, but Marshall is just a lot better than Navy right now, unless Navy has made a ton of progress over the course of the offseason. I do want to give the Mids a little bit of a break because I think COVID really affected them last year in terms of how they were able to prepare for the season, even compared to every other team having kind of a weird year in 2020. But unless Ken Niumatalolo has like a dominant Keenan Reynolds, Malcolm Perry type quarterback running that offense, Navy has been pretty bleh the last couple of years. I don't think they have that right now unless someone emerges suddenly. Marshall has a new coach in Charles Huff, but I think it's a continuity job taking over for Doc Holliday. I think he's going to do well and do well pretty quickly. Also, I think that Navy just isn't going to be able to throw the ball even a tad, which is sometimes valuable for them to be able to air it out in the midst of all that triple option running. I don't think that works against Marshall's secondary or with Navy's QB situation. So for now, Jason, Katelyn, that's what I've got.
Very nice.
Thanks, Alex and Jason. Let's turn it over to you, and then we will do our picks of the week.
Excellent. Betting against the troops, risky if there's a big spread in play. That's when I would advise against it. A small spread, go crazy. My first 4 picks to run through, I have Stanford plus 2.5 against Kansas State at a neutral site. You can find a lot of computer ratings, quite possibly the majority of them, that favor Stanford outright. FBI does. Stanford has a raw talent advantage. It's really never mattered when Kansas State is involved because talent is sort of an ethereal concept when Kansas State is around. But I think these teams are basically equal. So if you're giving me points on either of them, I'm fine with it. And most computers tend to think Stanford is the better team. So I will ride with the nerds against Heartland Farm Country. Ohio, I got it as a pick'em against Syracuse. You can find better value elsewhere, but I'll take any margin there. I'm confused by this line. Syracuse was worse last year than any team in Frank Solich's entire head coaching career has ever been. I don't know what more of a case you need. The game is in Athens, Ohio. Ohio can run the ball, and Syracuse is good, like punting. That's about it. UCLA, I got them at 4.5 against LSU at home. First of all, prayers and all equivalents to Louisiana. This is a bet that the Tigers are the team with more moving parts, with more turnover on the roster and the coaching staff and so forth, might need time to come together as a team. We saw in week 0 that UCLA, all that continuity they brought into this season, and some of the new pieces, particularly on defense, that they exceeded expectations. We don't want to make too much of a week 0 blowout against Hawaii, but they looked as good as you would hope on both sides of the ball. So this is a bet that, sure, LSU is probably the better team, very well might win in the Rose Bowl, but UCLA, I think, keep close, especially on the friendly side of a field goal. And I have here we go. We're gonna fall for this. All right.
Oh no.
I have Miami plus 18.5 against Alabama. Stop me if you've heard this before, okay? One of the country's 10 or so most talented teams brings back almost everyone, including a star quarterback. Picked by almost all the computers to cover against an Alabama with a lot of turnover, including a quarterback. Surely the team with all this continuity will be able to lose by only 17 or so in the neutral site against Alabama. We do this every year. It always fails, but I think college football is about bad ideas, so let's go ahead and get one out of the way. I am betting Alabama will only win, by only 18 points. Now that would be a pick of the week right there.
Didn't like that. All right. Well, thank you, Jason and Alex. And we are going to finish off this video with our picks of the week. I'm going to go first. Alabama plays Miami Hurricanes, and I'm going Alabama minus 19. I have a lot of confidence in this team overall. Not only their offense with Bryce Young, he's looking good, but also their defense, I think, is going to steal the show, not only this game, but this entire season.
Well, I think, Katelyn, that I'm going to be curious to see which one of you winds up on the good side of this bet. I'm actually with Jason on that. That's not my pick of the week, even though I am ready to follow Jason into hell and pick against Alabama, knowing all the consequences that entails. I'm making Syracuse against Ohio, taking the Bobcats at plus 1.5 as my pick of the week. Jason just pointed out how silly this is. I can only assume that this is because this is an ACC team against an American athletic team, and perhaps there's a slight knock on Ohio because Frank Solich retired late in the offseason. They made a continuity hire. They just elevated one of his assistants to be the head coach of that team. They have been significantly better than Syracuse, more consistent than Syracuse for a while. And it's in Athens. It's in one of the great party cities in the American Midwest. And I think that it's going to be a party in Athens on Saturday after Syracuse does what Syracuse typically does these days, which is plays terribly and loses to the Ohio Bobcats. I would take Ohio straight up. Consider them money line if you're interested in that kind of thing as well.
Yeah, thank you for that note on Solich. I'm still counting them as a Solich team.
Same, yeah, absolutely.
I have a few older lines. This is the week one is fun because you have these lines that have just been sitting around for months and months and months, and like, oh no, it's finally to see what we got here. Just to run through a few, I have UCF -4 against Boise State, BYU -9.5 against Arizona, Maryland +4.5 against West Virginia, Central Michigan +12.5 against Missouri, Purdue -5.5 against Oregon State, Houston +6.5 against Texas Tech. That line has tumbled. The money line outright, I would strongly consider it. Ole Miss -7.5 against Louisville. Those have moved around since then, but I would at least consider those sides on those numbers to this point. And my personal pick of the week is once again a disgusting large number: Louisiana Tech +27.5 against Mississippi State. I do not think we have an accurate reflection of who La Tech is. They were hammered by injuries last year. Should get a burst just from returning players. The talent gap is, yes, it's vast. It's 20 something points large, but I don't think it's quite as big as you might think. La Tech has a lot of pieces, at very least raw pieces, for a Conference USA team, and Mississippi State is not exactly Alabama or Georgia. The line started at 30.5 and has come down to about 23.5, and I would still consider it around there. But I'm happy with 27.5. I'm getting more than 3 scores worth of value, and yeah, pick of the week.
I would stay far away from Mississippi State. So if I was going to do anything, I would do what you're doing. So I respect that rationale.
All right. Well, those are our picks of the week, and we will be back next week and every week after, bringing you the best and hottest college football picks. This is Beat the Odds on OddsChecker, and don't forget that OddsChecker, in honor of the 102nd NFL season, they are doing a giveaway for $10,200. You don't want to miss this. Make sure you are following us on Twitter and Instagram. And that's all for this week. We'll catch you guys next week.